to Crystal Clear Moments, where we explore the beauty and depth of crystal clear moments in life. I'm your host, Crystal Blackwell, and I invite you to join me on a journey of reflection and discovery. Life is a collection of moments, some fleeting and others entrenched in our memories forever. In this podcast, we delve into the crystalline instances that define who we are, shape our perspectives, and leave a mark on our souls. Today, we have a very special guest who I asked to be part of this podcast because, quite frankly, I know her, but I don't really know her in terms of her journey. And I've been able to glean to see her in her space. And I think that you will find her fascinating and someone that you can learn from, someone whose crystal clear moments you can build upon, and someone you can look at and you can say, you know what, this girl is doing it and doing it well. So her name is Judge Carol Scott Berry. She's an Arizona attorney and retired Phoenix Municipal Court Judge. Prior to her judicial appointment, Judge Berry served as a Maricopa County public defender, judge per term in Phoenix and Chandler Municipal Courts as a sole practitioner practicing in the areas of real estate, trust, and estates, and criminal law. Judge Berry earned her Bachelor of Science degree in public administration from the University of Southern California and her Juris Doctorate from ASU, from Sandra Day O'Connor College of Law. Look at that. Go Sun Devils. Mm-hmm. In retirement, because Judge Berry is in retirement, she's using her privileges and blessings to work towards achieving justice. So, I always ask my guests to give me their bios, and I really love the fact that she said she's using her privileges and blessings to work toward achieving justice and fairness and equality for all. So we all know it's important that we recognize our privileges, right? And know that we're blessed and know that oftentimes our gifts and talents don't just enrich the world, but also we give it back to our communities. Yes. So our gifts just flow in all spaces, because that's why we're here, right? Is to utilize our gifts and talents for our purpose. And I love that you're continuously doing so. She also teaches, and trains leaders in Bible studies. And currently, she lectures a class of 200 women. I struggle when I lecture like 12 young adults. I cannot imagine 200 women, and I bet you those classes are pretty rich. So I'm going to have to pop in a couple of those and get fed from some of your teachings. Judge Berry is a recipient of numbers of awards, just accolades, lines and lines. And finally, she's happily married for over 30 years. To Virgil Berry, and has two young adult children who are thriving and doing their thing and making space and making their way. And, it's really great to have you here. I know we have, back in our young adult days, we had fun times together. And,
yes, we did.
We had great time. But I love the fact that when kids came, we got in line. Like, we checked out of that box. Yeah. And we handled our business, and we raised our families. Absolutely. And we did our career. And when you focus on family, and you make sure that you're keeping your marriage enriched and you're in your career, you don't have a lot of time for play. Exactly. You don't really have a lot of play time. You have some, it's scheduled. Yeah. So I don't know about you. I find myself having more fun now than
I'm trying.
Then we're gonna work on that. I'm having more fun now because
I'm trying.
I have this openness where before it was games and kids and school and this and that, and now it's like it's just me and Ivan, and the kids pop up here and there. I'm able to really continue to live. So what I want to share with us is, if you're comfortable, is what's the latest crystal clear moment that you have that's sort of helping you shape the retired Judge Berry?
Probably my latest is realizing that God intends for us to enjoy our lives.
Yes.
And realizing that if I'm not enjoying it, it's nobody's fault but mine.
That's
good. I'm making these choices, like you said, being in retirement, being with adult children, we get to start making decisions not for ourselves, where before everything we did was for somebody else or taking somebody else into consideration. And I lost my sister in 2021. And one of the last things she said to me was, enjoy your life.
Wow.
And
that was her gift to you.
Yeah. And that was, and that has been my whole motto since then. Doing things that I enjoy. Because I get to choose to do whatever I want to do. I don't have to do anything now. I get to choose what I do.
So why do you think, what gets in our way of truly enjoying our lives?
Stuff we allow. Sometimes we're people pleasing. Sometimes we're doing things because society says we should do them. You know, whether it is getting married, whether it is having kids, whether it is being in a certain career or going for a certain promotion. Everybody's telling you should do it. And that's not something you really want to do, but everybody seems to say it's good for you. And sometimes they are right, but you have to make that choice for yourself so that you are enjoying it.
Right.
And one of the things that I tell the leaders that I train in Bible study fellowship, I tell my children, make choices that you enjoy. When my kids were trying to decide what colleges to go through, I did not want to get involved and have them me making that decision, because I wanted them to make the decision. Because if it didn't work out, then that would be your choice. You chose to do that.
Right.
And realizing that my children were not mini me's. God had made them individuals.
See, that's huge.
And made them individuals with their own individual goals, their own individual lives, and their own individual talents. So allowing them to flourish. So
what I really love what you said about with when you have children and resisting. I feel like it's a resistance, not making them like you.
Yeah.
You know, it's because especially if you like yourself. I mean, you want to see the better of you in them, right?
Yes.
You want them to take on your strengths, your gifts. Especially if they worked for you, like if you did really well, and then you have a child that's like, that's not that's not me. You know, we always have one that's like, that's not me. You know,
yes, we do.
You know, it's like one, and then it's one that's just like you, and you're just going at it. You know, so in a different kind of way. But I wonder, like, what was a crystal clear moment for you when you realized, you know, I need to step back and let my young adult children, they're a woman and a man, they're adults, be themselves. Like when did that come on, that light, and when did you just step away?
Yeah.
Or are you still messing around with that? Because sometimes I find myself like, challenged.
Yes, and it's a line, because now that they're adults, you let them be adults. But I think for me, it was my son was just having all kind of issues as far as doing his schoolwork. He loved school. Didn't love schoolwork. And so
like social.
He loved the social aspect of it. And so he's popular. He was homecoming prince and all these things. But yet his grades were not reflecting his talents and or his smarts. And so I was always on him constantly. Just, get your work done, do this. And I had came home from work, and I had gotten a note from his teacher, or I had went online and saw his grades, one of those two things. And I saw him going, we have a refrigerator in our garage, and he was coming out, going into the refrigerator. And I was ready to just get out the car.
Steaming. In the car, you were steaming.
Light into him. And I know it was the Holy Spirit said, he's a good kid.
Yeah.
And I just stopped in place. And it was like, every time I talked to my son, it was negative.
That's a moment.
And it starts to get to the point where he would hate to see you, because you're getting ready to say something negative. And even though I was full of ready to critique and criticize and jump on over him, I just came in the house and I said, how was your day? And from that point on, it changed our relationship, because I was not that nagging mother anymore.
Right.
I was that encouraging mother.
Right.
I was that mother that was seeing his best and picking him up. And so then, even though my daughter was always good in school and liked school and those kind of things. I did the same thing with her, and it changed our relationship. You know, nobody wants to. The world is critiquing our kids, everything they
constantly.
do, so they don't need to come home to that.
Right.
And so you look for ways to encourage and uplift them.
Yeah. That is a huge crystal clear moment for you, because it not only changed, first of all, it changed you. I think every change starts with us, right? It doesn't start with our hearts and our minds, and they have to agree.
Does. He always starts with you. When you're praying about somebody, all their problems and all their issues.
It all points back to you. Oh, my God. Yes, definitely. And, you know, when I got that lesson, now I start looking at things that bother me. Like, okay, Crystal, what's going on with you? Or how are you showing up? Why is that bothering you? Is it because it's a reflection of you? You know, so you start, after you kind of do that little, little therapy session, you do, right? You kind of break it down, do just like you said, some self-analysis. And then oftentimes you can blow it off, unless it's something you wanted to address. And every now and again you have to address. But I find, I don't know about you, most of the time it lands up on my lap and it's homework for me. I still got some work to do. And I just dig into it, because to your point, we are to live a joyous life. And people should see us and see joy. I agree.
So I want what she has. Why we all in this mess together, whatever it is, whether it's a workplace situation, a family situation. But this person seems to be handling it so well. And the only reason we are is because of the Holy Spirit inside of us. And so people should desire to have that. And I think that's one of the best compliments somebody can give you is to say, what do you have? How are you handling this?
Right.
Because that opens up your opportunity to share your faith and to share with that person, because that person wants to know, how you dealing with this, and I can't deal with it.
I agree. There's nothing worse than seeing. I know there's a generation of the grim, a staunch Christian, and there's a. And I never grabbed that. And that always was like, she's mean, or she doesn't look happy. I don't want none of that. But people want, and similar to what you're saying, God wants us to be the light. The light of the world. Very clear how we're supposed to show up, right? And not that I think I'm there, but at least I have a goal. Like that's my goal is to be the light, so I got a little plan to get there, but he wants us to be the light. So you're right to that point. You want people to come up. You want people to be intrigued with the light versus the dark turning away. And that's how we bring people.
Or the condemnation. I don't know where we got to where being a Christian means self-righteousness. I am better than somebody else, and not that sinner who's saved by grace just like everybody else. And so we who have that knowledge need to let people know we are no better than nobody else.
No better. As a matter of fact, sometimes darts come more. Our way.
Do.
Because of the perception of people who aren't in the walk. They think that, well, I'm just going to throw it. I want to see how you respond. I want to test you to see,
Exactly.
So I feel like sometimes you could be under attack, maybe more,
I think so too. And that's one thing some churches will tell new believers when they come up and accept Christ as their Savior. This is tomorrow or the next hour. Satan getting ready to come at you.
He's waiting, right? He's waiting.
You ain't really, he didn't really save you. You still that dirty, whatever you were before. All of those things come
all the
at
temptations.
you. All of those things. All of that stuff comes and it's real. And so, but what comes with accepting Christ is the power over it. The power to recognize what it is. And the power to be able to say, no, I'm not going to do it. Yes, I'm tempted to talk about that person, but no, I'm going to pray for him.
Right.
That's the Holy Spirit, not you. Because you would.
We would. Because we're flesh, which is nothing.
Which is
nothing.
But he gives us that power.
So I liked, and thank you for sharing how, you changed your mindset, your heart. You allowed the Holy Spirit to speak to you, because it's talking to us all the time. And then,
Small voice.
Small voice. And then when and every now and then it'd pop us on our head, right? Like, boom,
Yes.
I need you. This is a good kid here. You're getting ready to ruin potentially generation.
Yes.
Because, when we have kids, especially young adults, and they're stepping out into the world, what we feed them impacts when they have a family.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
it can,
and how they put it on. It can be generational curses or generational blessings.
Right.
Get
I'm in the blessing lane. Trying to be, right. Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
You want to say, because of the prayers of my mother, because of the attitude of my mother, I am been blessed, and I can bless my kids.
Right.
And then they can bless their kids.
So I want to shift just a little. How do you show up, Carol the believer? That's your mantra. That's your roadmap. That's the Bible is your blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
And you're in the world, and you're in the legal system. And how do you balance that? Because the perception of the legal system is dirty and it's not honest, and you can't trust. But it's the legal system, so we have to honor it, right? It's rule and regulations that are built, right? Hopefully for justice and equality and equity. But see, when you're in it, and you're the judge, you're the person who's really. How do you separate that, or do you separate it?
I can't separate. And so when I first got appointed, all I could do was ask the Lord to help me to see each person that appears in front of me what He sees them. And
Wow.
God always answers prayers to be more like Him. And so, and so I was able, not in the spirit, to basically see people. And you can't imagine what that does for. You have somebody who's dirty, homeless, and I say, Mister, nobody's.
Wow.
And you can see the dignity almost come back. Person's. She sees me. She said, called me Mister. And so all of those things I'm doing as a believer, that people just think she's just doing her job. But that is what God has given me to do, to hear, to sit up and listen. That's put a job of a job, and to listen. And so a lot of people have not been heard, not been seen.
Wow.
So now they have this opportunity, somebody to hear them, whether they are the defendant or whether they are victim. They have not been heard. This is an opportunity for somebody to hear them. So it was my intent that everybody that left they may not agree with my decision,
Right.
but they realize, they know that the judge heard me, acknowledged me. And so it became an everyday thing for me to go to work and look forward to who's going to be uplifted today.
Yeah.
And it became a joy. They say you never work a day in your life if you.
Yes.
And that's what it was for me. And so I didn't separate being a believer from a judge. The two went hand. Couldn't be a judge. I don't know how people do it that aren't believers, because it's a lot of mess that's going on in the world. How do you handle this?
I never thought about that.
How do you handle this without the Lord?
That's a protection.
Yeah.
You have to be protected.
Yeah, you have to be protected, and you have to be able to give of yourself.
Yes.
Because and that's where I really came into problems. I was giving so much of myself, I was not doing anything for myself.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't doing that me time, as they say, because if I wasn't working, I was at my Bible study. If I wasn't at my Bible study, I was at my church ministry, and just doing all these things until it just got to the point where I had to stop and had to retire and just like, okay, Lord, what do you have? What do you want me to do? I've chose some things that you probably did, which look good. But
or sometimes people tell you things are good. And this is what I've learned is just because you're really good at something, you could be great at something. Does not mean that's your purpose. It could just be a really good gift that God has given you to utilize in particular places.
Right.
But it doesn't mean you have to take off. And I myself fell in that bucket. I was really good at leading people. So I was in leadership forever. But the core of me wasn't happy. happy. I was just good at it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't joy. I mean, it didn't bring me joy.
Yeah.
You know, it was, and I think a lot of us, because people tell you, oh, you should do, and then you believe it because, you get accolades, it looks good, it sounds good on paper, it's good, it comes easy to you. But then when you have that quiet moment, which I didn't have a lot of those quiet moments.
Yes, because we don't have time.
We don't have time to hear that message, so
And before you know it, you've taken on so many tasks that you don't have time to have those quiet moments. Because you're always running, and God did not intend for us not to have those quiet moments. Matter of fact, he told us to take a day.
A full 24 hours. We struggle with 10 minutes of meditation and prayer. He's like, I need a day. Yes. Well, he took a day.
Yes.
He modeled it.
He set an example. And even throughout the Gospels, you see Jesus breaking away from everybody. Going away from the crowd, going away from the disciples, and spending time alone. And when you don't do that, you risk losing your sanity, you risk losing your health, you risk losing a whole bunch of things, all for doing things that seem good.
So how did you feel when you realized you had your crystal clear moment that, okay, I need to retire and focus on me? Like, how did you feel about that?
Well, at first, when my doctor told me I needed to retire.
Okay, there you go. when your doctor tell you that, it's like, oh, God was like, please tell her, because she
ain't listening to me.
Maybe she'll listen to you. Right,
You.
that's funny. My doctor told me.
I was very just bothered by it because, as I said, I loved being a judge. I loved everything about it. I loved my co-workers, the place I was working. It just seemed like this was my life. And I have a really close friend, and I was telling her how I didn't want to retire, and she says, well, you've been sowing and sowing and sowing. When are you going to reap? And I'm like,
that is the message there. Wow.
Yes. And I'm like, well, said it's time for you to reap.
It's your harvest. Go get it.
Yes. And so it changed my whole mindset about retirement. And so it became, okay, what do you have for me next, Lord? And people would ask me, so what are you going to do when you retire? And I just say, God has me on a need-to-know basis. When I need to know, he'll let me know.
But you know what? That's really how it is on the for real. If we're honest, if we really look at it, we make plans, because that's what we do. And he knows that. And he chuckles, of course. But it is a need to know, because if he gave us all.
Oh, we couldn't handle it.
I can't even handle in the next 2 hours, give me drops of what I need, So it is a need to know.
Yeah, on a need to know basis.
Was that different for you? Because, based on, your way you live, probably 25 plus years, scheduled, planning, everything was precise. And you had everything your blueprint was mapped out.
Yes.
You went from that to, all right, wait for me.
Yes.
What was that like?
It was actually kind of nice for a minute. I retired in December of 2018. And so in March of 2019, I went to Barcelona, Spain with my son, who did a study abroad. And so I'm just going to live my best life. I'm just going to enjoy whatever is going on. I still was in my Bible study. And at that time, I was not the leader. I was what we call the substitute teacher. And the leader got sick. And I mean, seriously sick. Yeah. Oh. And so I had to step up and lead the class. Oh, boy. And again, I was just like, whatever, Lord, you have me to do. And she had told me that she was stepping away that year in 2019 was going to be her last year. And I'm still didn't hit me that it was going to be me leading the class.
You didn't know she was. You was like, oh well, why help you? We're going to miss you. I wonder who's going to teach. Yeah. Oh boy, yeah, it was you. You was on the list.
Yes. And we have area personnel who are in charge of our state, and we had figured out that she wasn't coming back, and she said, we need a person to take her place, of course, and but I think you may be too old, and I'm like, oh.
Interesting.
Yeah, because they wanted somebody.
Just straight up said that. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, well, she didn't say that, but she just said under 55 or something. She said, and so I'm like,
gonna get hard.
Yeah, yes. And I'm like, cool.
Oh, you thought that was your out? Psych.
And so she called me back about a couple of weeks later. She says, "Have you made a decision?" I'm like, "What? I thought you said
I was too old."
She said, "No."
You got comfortable. You was like, "Who's gonna teach?"
I'm gonna say whoever the Lord say. I'll be the substitute. And so then I did pray about it. Mm-hmm. And at that time we were studying the Old Testament, Joshua. Mm-hmm. And the prior teacher, her name was Marcia. And there's a passage in Joshua where God calls Joshua to lead. Mm-hmm. And he says, "As I was with Moses, I will be with you." It's like, as I was with Marcia, I'll be with you. It's just like, that's cool. God. Yeah. So I called her and said,
"I'll be obedient."
Yeah, I'm going to be obedient. And so I started that, started teaching the class in September of 2019. We go school years from September to May. And I saw that time from January to March to May that the Lord was preparing me and the class for me to step in, me not to just jump in and not know what to do and not know what it was. Gave me this trial period for me to see what it would be like, and gave them that trial period with me.
It's funny, like really, he knew, but he's like, let me let you feel like you're in a trial period.
Yeah,
look how wonderful he is, because he knew that you needed that. You needed that moment to like adjust, and get comfortable, so you can do well.
Yes. So I started leading the class in September of 2019. And then my mother-in-law got to the point where she couldn't live alone by herself. Mm-hmm. And so she came to live with us. But then she started to live like a week with us and then a week with Jackie's sister. And then COVID came. And we were in the house together,
all of us.
24.
I know. There's still, I do believe there's some PTSD from all of us, but just the whole together thing. It's like lockdown, like
for 24/7, because we were used to being in the house together, but not 24/7.
And at different times you're in the house. And you're just. And you can't go anywhere but to the store, which became like a field trip to me. I used to want to go to the store.
Yes, it's just like, anybody needs
to go to some store? I used to want to go to the store. I'll go to Fry's. We need some bread, sure. I was going to the store.
It was the only thing open anyway, and it was just like, it was an outing.
I could not wait. I was going to the store about every day for like grapes. It didn't even matter. I didn't care.
One of my other friends, she said, me and my husband, we coming over. We gonna sit outside of your patio. We gonna bring us some food because I just need to.
I need to kind of get away from him, but I can't. I need to get someplace else. Change my scenery.
Yes, and it was just one of those things. But also in 2020 was George Floyd. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And because we were all locked in the house, everybody saw this video full stream. And one of my law school classmates she is currently the Vice Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. She's going to be the Chief Justice next year. And so she emailed me and said, do you have any ideas about what the court? I'm like, of all the people.
She called you.
She called me.
Like I don't know. I swear I feel like a chill right now when you said that.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Yes. Girl, that's good.
And we
That's
had
nice.
the ASU Center for the Study of Race and Democracy had, in 2019, had brought in Eric Holder. And the chair at that time had asked me if I could help her get the legal community. And so I had invited a classmate to this thing. It was held at they've been having it for several years, called Delivering Democracy, that they have at Pilgrim. And the speaker was Eric Holder.
Mhm.
And so I invited my law school classmate to that, and she said, I remember that you were part of them. And so I never heard anything from them, but I'd like to get together. So I gathered some people together. My old boss, she was a prior chief justice of our court, and the director, chair of the board of the ASU Center, and contacted the state bar, and we started to hold basically dialogues, but they were virtual. It was the coolest thing because people didn't have to have that confrontational atmosphere.
Yeah.
And
It felt safe.
Yeah. And it was amazing how many people won.
Yes.
We had 200 virtually wanting to talk social justice.
Mm.
And the director of the center is a magnificent moderator, facilitator. So because she's not a lawyer, apt to talk with her, and because there's nothing to lose there. And so she acted as the facilitator, moderator, and started to snowball into a session at the conference virtually. And we've been doing conferences ever since 2020. So, and we're planning to do one. And now the state bar president is the first Black state bar president we ever had.
Yes,
Benjamin
I saw
Taylor.
that. Yes.
And so Benjamin Taylor has now asked me to be co-chair of the convention, which is like, and it's big.
deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, so now I got to take some stuff off my plate.
Right.
I don't want to get back to where I was.
And it's easy to do.
Yes,
Right. It's easy to do.
because people ask you to do things,
Yeah,
and then it sounds good.
Right.
And
Yeah,
it's just an opportunity again to bring people together.
Yes.
To talk about justice. God is justice.
Yes,
There is no justice without Him.
Right.
And so when you can talk about equal justice, and you can talk about reforms and all those kind of things, that comes from Him. And so that's where I am now, looking for 2024, what that's going to be like,
Yes, that's good.
where God is going to use me and what He's going to do.
I love how you're open to it.
Yeah.
And I think that goes into your initial joy. Like, you know what, Crystal, I'm going to walk in joy in all that I do. And I think when we step into being joyful, I think things come our way.
Yeah. I agree.
Things come our way that bring us joy. Like you said, like your face lit up. You said, I get an opportunity to bring people together, to talk about justice, that's near and dear to your heart. But if we're not walking in the light, joyful, open to it, think of all the opportunities. I'm sure I've missed opportunities, not understanding just that part.
Yes.
Grateful I'm here, but I'm sure in my youth, in my young adult years, just not understanding just how joy is almost like a key, a magic key. It opens up. And you attract different people. You attract a more diverse instead of your own.
Yes.
Which I love that. Not just your own little group. You have a diverse group.
And people are doing
ages.
things you don't even know that they're doing. And that's one thing I've noticed since I've been retired. There's so many people have their own little group, and they're all trying to do positive things. But it would be so much better if we would all work together with a common goal. And we were fortunate that president of the Arizona Town Hall at that time, is a retired judge, and she was at one of our sessions, and so she invited me to speak to the town hall about equity. Because they were choosing, they are 2 years out as to the topics. They choose a topic every year to focus and study on.
That's a good one. Equity kind of covers everything.
Yes, and that's kind of what I said. You know,
it's a good broad stroke.
And so they were choosing between equity, elections, and the environment.
Well, equity can cover elections and environment.
it.
Equity
All of
covers
it.
everything. That's the big umbrella.
Yes,
Overall.
Yes, and that's basically what I said. And I just knew they were going to choose elections because there were so many people focused on it. And because remember, this is in 2021.
And we're entering election year now.
Yeah.
Right. Here we go again.
Yeah, and this town hall is for the whole state. And so
Yes.
there are people from Bisbee, there were people from Tucson, there were people from all over virtual. But somehow or another, they chose equity. So this year, 2023, is when they started to study and have town halls on equity. And this year, we had one for the first time at Pilgrim Rest at a town hall. And it was sponsored by Amazon, and where people came together to talk about equity. It was amazing, really, to see it. And diverse. It was a diverse crowd.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And
that
it was
definitely
just
would be.
yes. So and just seeing God working, seeing God working, bringing His people.
You cannot be in diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, those spaces, any of that space, without understanding that's God's work. You absolutely cannot do it.
I agree.
You cannot do it.
I agree.
And if you are, the messaging is off. It's just you can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, it just won't be delivered. I know that just personally with clients who, you know, oftentimes are white male over 50. And I'm standing up talking about equity in a leadership space when your board of directors have no one of diversity, no person of color, gender, sexual orientation. Is just very, you know, vanilla.
Yes.
And I know I cannot do that without saying, okay, God, this is your work.
Yes.
God's work.
Yes.
And the pressure's off. Once I say that, the pressure is off, and you just show up and just do your thing. So, yeah.
And it makes it easy because it takes the pressure off of you.
Oh, yeah.
You realize, okay, Lord, I'm not walking in this room by myself. Matter of fact, I'm following you.
I'm following you. And I'm behind you, like, and you're, you know, I'm way behind you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
let them see you. Let them
Yes.
see you. Let them see you as being the unifier, you being the diversifier for that you love us all, you created us. And it's our choice whether we want to get along or not.
Our choice. We got the power, right?
We got
we
the
have
power to choose
do it.
to see another person as your equal.
Yes. Yeah. Wow, that's.
But it's amazing to me from doing this for the past couple of years to see how many people desired to have something better.
Yes. And sometimes afraid of how you get there.
Yes.
Because it does take going back to the original, changing our hearts and our minds. And that's work.
Yeah.
Because if all you know is you know, and then someone
Yes.
saying to be better and get better, you have to change you.
Yes.
Which it could be in your DNA for 3-4 generations. It could be
Yes.
all you've ever seen, smelled, touched.
Yes.
And now we have to change that to do better, be better.
Yeah, because I remember sometime after George Floyd's murder, we were law clerks at the county attorney's office together, and she became a Superior Court judge. And so she wrote an article for the Arizona Republic saying, I was raised a racist, but now I'm going to be an anti-racist. And
Ally.
I sat there and I'm like, we went to lunch almost every day.
Yes, girl, yeah.
And you smiled in my face all this time.
Yes. I hugged you sometimes. I touched you. I even loved you. I may have even prayed for you. Yes.
Yes. But to see that point come out and just be honest about it. And be willing to talk about it.
You know what? I appreciate that, being
Yes.
brave enough
Yes.
to do that. Most people aren't. People
Yes.
freak out over the word racist and
Yes.
racism
Yeah.
anyways.
Yes.
So for her to actually say that I was
Yes.
is pretty remarkable. So,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah, it was
I
great.
like her for that. You know, that's
I did
makes
too.
you
And I reached
care
out
about
to her.
Yeah.
And then she joined one of our programs for the state bar. And she was one of the co-chairs that year. And she has a podcast called It Takes Courage.
Ooh,
And
check her out.
Yes,
Check her
it
out.
takes
Yeah.
courage. And it just to have all of those things happen has to be God. It has to be Him. You know, it's no coincidence that George Floyd happened while we were all locked in, unable to go
No
nowhere.
distractions.
We
were
weren't able to move to the next thing because there was no next thing.
Or either remessage it. Like
Yes.
it's we remessaging for centuries.
Yes.
It's, so this isn't new. It's been remessaged for centuries,
minimizing or,
and
you know, it's
minimizing
just-
or
yeah,
shifting fault,
Yeah.
or digging into his human side.
Yeah.
Because he did this, because he
So he deserved to die.
You deserve to die because you're a human and you going through your human stuff,
Yeah,
like we all have our human stuff.
Yes.
And we were all quiet. And I think that was when, I mean, for me, I had to do some pivoting with my business because I was out in the world training, coaching, facilitating. So went virtual, which I was already there, but it was a quick pivot. Yeah. But that's when, I realized that, organizations need to really understand, they get DE&I 101, 20th century.
Yeah.
We all got that. Black people, white people, males, female, maybe gender expression, maybe if they're progressive, but for the most part, that was our training.
Yes.
Maybe bias if we even understood what that word meant.
Yeah.
Stereotype,
bias.
right.
Yes.
Stereotype, maybe, the typical stereotype, but not the work that's going on now.
Yes.
The work that's going on now, I find fascinating, Carol, is coming from like the younger generations. They're demanding when they go into the workplace. They're demanding to be things to be diverse.
They're bold.
They're
No
asking
fear.
for, and they're asking for an intelligent way. They know their stuff.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it, they'll leave.
Yeah.
And go down the street because they know they're qualified and they know that they have credentials and they can.
Yes.
And I think that's got executive levels. Their eyes are open, like, we need to do something different. And in order for us to attract top talent, I mean, you can get workers, but you want to get top talent. They know their worth and they know what they want. So I love that.
Yeah, but you see the shift almost in almost every aspect, even in television commercials.
Yes.
Where they're so inclusive now. And because they found it's profitable. This is, because it's, bottom line for a corporation is money.
Make money, they'll do it.
And so, wait, these people have money too.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Like they laughed at the wheelchair, the gentleman who was able-bodied person who was in Target. That was a controversy.
Yeah, so like,
but they made money off of that.
Yeah,
though.
yeah, but it's kind of like, what? That's not a human being,
right?
that shops at Target,
right?
You have all these handicap spaces.
I know
somebody's using them. Yeah, why
That's
not?
The truth.
Yeah,
I know it.
Why not let those people, like we were talking earlier, be?
Yes,
it's basically like you're trying to make them invisible, and why?
Everybody wants to be seen, and valued, and heard, and not oppressed, pushed aside. Yeah, definitely. So finally, before we wrap up, first of all, I love the work that you've done in terms of looking at people through the eyes of God in your work in the judicial system. I don't think everyday people like myself realize that happens. I think people just see a judge unless you have a personal relationship with someone and you know their character, right? Then But overall, I think people see it as, maybe not as trustworthy as it should be. And I do believe there's people out there that's doing it. I mean, throughout the word, there's judges, There's people
having cases heard,
heard,
since
making
the days of Moses.
decisions. Right. I think Solomon had like a line of people coming up to him, and he was just making a decision. I think that's part of our human cultures that have that wise, that person who's neutral. So I thank you for honoring that, and as you said, one person at a time, seeing them, addressing them by their name, letting them know that they're human. Still honoring the work. 'Cause you have to honor the job, but treating the person with dignity, respect, and kindness should just always happen.
Yeah.
Doing the job is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we get that, we mix that up. We don't see, you can still be nice and still be,
and some people do. And some people think that, because I got this position, I'm supposed to be harsh. No, you're supposed to be.
Wow.
You're supposed to be partial. All of those things that they tell us in the none of them says mean. None of them says harsh, condescending, or all those other things that you can get full of yourself and be. So, and it takes prayer because you're in this higher position, and sometimes people are honoring you, worshiping you, and all those kind of things, and you can get full of yourself. So it takes the Lord to remind you, hey, you're not doing nothing.
I'm doing this for you. The ego, ego.
Yeah, it takes that.
I heard this acronym from our youth pastor, or she's over our youth at church. Ego, edging God out.
Ooh,
right?
Ooh, wow.
Right? I know it.
Yeah.
April Hawkins, I'm giving you a shout out on that one. I love that. That's never left me. Edging God out. It was right there. Isn't that what you do? I know it. So I used it because I'm like, that's really powerful.
On one of my lectures, I'm gonna find a place because that's what it does.
It is. Edge God out with ego.
And it's they always talk about too who's on the throne of your heart. And so when you take God off the throne and put yourself there, or
edge them out, right? Yeah. I know it. I love it. She said that. I was like, and I think I heard a couple of folks say it and then reference her saying it. So I'm like, okay, April, you're doing something with that ego, edging God out. So, all right, before we wrap up, what final crystal clear moment you would like to share that really, that has just changed who you are as a person and allowed you to be who you are today?
Oh, it's so many different ones that have led me to that place, to where I am now. And I know God has some more coming to take me even further. But it's just really for me, it's just spending that time alone with God every day. When Jesus says, pray for your daily bread, it's our daily bread, that word. Every day.
That's our food.
That's our food. Yes. We cannot operate. Can't be starving ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
From that.
Yes.
That you need that daily.
So good.
Yeah. And
I'm going to remember that.
Yeah. And I know when I don't do it, it's a different day. And then I finally realized, you haven't prayed. You haven't read the word today. No wonder you all discombobulated, as they say.
Yes. Right.
Yes. But just having that daily bread every day helps you stay focused, because there's so many things that can take you away from who you are and who God wants you to be. Yes. So you start that day with Him. He'll help you to stay on the path. I've learned that that's just the best way for me to start my day. Some kind of devotion, some kind of prayer. If I have to rush out the house without doing it, I got to stop when I get where I'm going, or sometime at lunch, or whatever it is. Do that because you need it. Yeah. Anytime you think you don't, you're getting ready to edge God out.
Right. I know it. That's good. I love that. That's where we're going to end. That's good. Thank you. That was a good wrap up. Thank you so much for coming down and spending time. And this has been fun. Yes, this is fun to get to know you and hear your story, but also just get to know and share with our podcast listeners, the side of you that the core of you. Like you couldn't be a judge, you couldn't be a mom, you couldn't be a wife, any of that without your relationship and in your desire, which comes all the way through your desire to please and honor God with joy and have fun. I'm gonna work on that with you. 'Cause I'm like all about having fun. That is. I mean that is
and it's
necessary.
in Scripture. I think it's in Ecclesiastics. Just says, enjoy your work. God wants you to enjoy your work.
I love it.
And I just realized after reading that and studying, it's like, if I don't, whose fault is it but mine?
Right.
Yeah.
Good for you. That's good.
Yeah.
That's a life-changing, crystal clear moment there. All right. So, okay. Thank you, podcast listeners, for listening. Please go on and rate this podcast at a 5.0 and give me a rating. Reason why I'm asking you that, because if I get 100 reviews, I will get picked up. And that's my goal, is to get 100 reviews. So please go in and review so I can get 100 into Crystal Clear Moments. And thanks a lot. And thank you guys for tuning in. Bye-bye.